Welcome back to Antidote to the Wire Fraud Epidemic. This is part 4 on how you fight it, and this focuses on AP controls. My name is Kim Lay, and I'm the founder and CEO of A2Q2. As you will remember from our previous segments, we talked about what's happening with the wire fraud, how this scam works, why the scam is so successful, and now we're focusing on how do you fight it. Particularly, this segment is on AP controls. And we talked about fighting it is prevention is the key, sharing information about the scam with your teams, and then implementing internal controls immediately to prevent this from happening. So around internal controls for accounts payable, those are the AP controls to validate changes in the vendor payment information or the setup of new vendors. So we'll focus specifically on that. So the first recommendation we have is implementing a two-step callback verification process when you're setting up payment instructions for new vendors or making changes to payment instructions for existing vendors. What do I mean by a two-step callback? Honestly, it's when you receive a request from an email, we, at this point, don't know if it's fraudulent or not. Pick up the phone, call the person who requested it at a known phone number for this particular person. Do not use the phone number listed in the email. And this is where we've had a case where the email actually says, oh, I've just switched my phone numbers, or oh, here's the new information. You can contact me here for clarification. And of course, the new phone number is for a fraudulent person. So the first step is when you get the approval, that's great. The second step is pick up the phone, give them a call at a known phone number, and verify it with a live person that you recognize. The second control we recommend in AP is for existing vendors who request changes to their bank information. Get the request on their company letterhead and call the vendor contact using a known phone number to confirm the request is valid. Don't just take an email request to say, hey, can you change my banking information to such and such routing number and account number? Ask them to put it on their company letterhead, number one. And to be honest, in this digital age where graphics is so good right now that someone could just create a company letterhead without you knowing it. So that's why we also suggest calling the vendor at a contact number that's also known. So when you pair this with the two-step callback system, you know that this is a legitimate request from your vendor. The third control we recommend is verifying the sender's email address if or when the request is out of the norm. And so you can see in our example here that Joe Doe at Gmail, they've just transposed. They've just switched a minor thing, and if you're busy, if you don't really notice it, you may not, our eyes read what we want to see, and so we think, oh, that's Gmail. Well, we actually had a case of an email where it was sent and the domain name, they inserted an extra I in there. So there were two I's, but when your eyes looked at it very quickly, we didn't notice that until someone inspected it further. So closely inspect the incoming email messages for anomalies, transposed letters. And finally, in the AP arena, implementing a company policy specifying the acceptable forms of evidence and support for cash disbursements. For example, do not accept just email requests for emergency transactions, emergency wire transfers. Ask them for the vendor invoice, ask them for a signed agreement, ask them for other forms of evidence rather than just an email to say, John said okay, as you can see below. Because, again, they are faking some of these emails. They're creating fraudulent types of support for it. And so you want to not just rely on the email part of it. So those are the 4 controls we'd recommend for accounts payable. Again, my contact is Kim Lay, and it's KLE at A2Q2 if you have any questions or if you'd like to get more information about this particular fraud. And I look forward to talking to you at the next segment on Treasury and IT controls.